Be an annoying boyfriend? Enjoy getting arrested and deported. I was born in the States, but my family are immigrants. My dad worked his ass off to become a U.S. citizen, working 3 jobs and riding a bike to work because he couldn't afford a car. He and his dad saved all their money so they could get the rest of the family here. I say this because I understand the struggles immigrants face coming here and starting a new life without any support. I would never do what I did to someone actually trying to better their life. This piece of poop, though, didn't deserve to be here. The story is about my best friend's boyfriend. He lived with her in her family's house, renting a room, driving her car to work and using her cell phone that her parents paid for. She was 19 at the time and I was about 21. I was working at a club with my boyfriend. I worked really late and I had 2 kids. I asked my best friend if she could come over and watch them while they slept, basically just come hang out at my place. My sons were about 6 or 7 years old. She asked if she could have people over, so she wasn't bored. I said sure, I don't mind, but I asked that she just not throw any parties. We laughed as she agreed. Everything was fine when we got back. I thanked her and she left. Later that night I saw a cup with a cigarette butt in it. So I texted my friend and asked her if someone smoked in the house. I'm a smoker, but because my son is really little and the older one has asthma, so I didn't smoke in the house. The reply I received didn't make any sense. Reading, what kind is it? I said I don't know. In my mind I'm like, there were only 2 other PPL here, how could you not know if one of them smoked inside? She's not a smoker, so I knew it wasn't her. I started receiving more questions instead of a yes or no answer. The replies also didn't make much sense. It was broken English and stupid spelling mistakes. By this point I knew I wasn't talking to her. Instead it was her boyfriend. My best friend is white and he's Mexican. He was trying to fool me so I would tell him who she was here with. I never liked him. Not for any specific reason, he just rubbed me the wrong way from the beginning. They have been dating for about a year or 2. By this point I knew he was a piece of poop. I really dislike him because of how he treated her. He was controlling and abusive. I didn't see her as much anymore because I had gotten into an argument with him at her house earlier that year. We all wanted to go out to a friend's place, but he didn't. He said she couldn't go either. She wanted to, but he said no, and I told her we were leaving. It was really late, but this a-hole made a big deal about it. He decided it was a good idea to wake her dad so her dad would force her to stay home. This pissed me off because he has no respect. He lives in their home and he can't even let her dad sleep. Besides, she was an adult, not to mention her dad never cared if she was going anywhere with me. Her parents knew if she was with me she was safe. After that minor blow-up I decided not to be around him. I wouldn't be able to hide my contempt for him. This is why she didn't come over to watch my kids with him. I didn't understand why she stayed with him, especially after she told me that he forced himself on her. I put up with him for my friend. But not for long. Update back to the texts, he's pretending to be her and I tell him I know it's him and talk she. He then said he was going to come over and shoot up my house with my kids still inside. I basically laughed to myself. I didn't believe him. I replied with a threat to get him deported. I got in touch with a mutual friend of mine and my best friend. She knew more about him. She told me he had a warrant out for his arrest. The cops had gone to pick him up one day but they didn't find him. I didn't know any of that. I also didn't know his full legal name. She gave me everything I needed. I told her what I was going to do and not to tell our friend. I called the cops and gave them his location. Everything they needed to know so they wouldn't miss him. They actually picked him up the same night. I then called ICE. He was put on ICE hold, and he couldn't get bailed out of jail now. Once in custody, the only way he was getting out was when he reached Mexico. I felt bad for my friend and their daughter. I knew she would probably never see him again, but I believe I did her a favor. I ended up telling her what I did not long after. I didn't want her to find out through someone else and get even more upset with me. It's been so long since then. She never said she was mad about it. I'm sure it was tough for her in the beginning. Her life has completely changed in a good way. Her daughter has a better father now, someone who takes care of both of them. PP had lost everything he owned. Lost his girl, his side chick, and was arrested and deported. He also lost any chance of having any real relationship with his daughter. I did hear that he came back, but it took about 10 years. Their daughter was less than a year old. She's about 13 now. I believe he's met her once since all this happened. He got to see the great life she has without him in her life.